The silver ship descended from the clouds over Washington, D.C., causing traffic to stop and people to point upward in amazement. It was shaped like a teardrop and glowed with faint blue light as it hovered above the National Mall. Fighter jets scrambled but kept their distance as ordered. Captain John Miller stood on the White House lawn, his hands clasped behind his back to hide their slight trembling. Beside him, diplomat Samantha Wright adjusted her suit jacket and took a deep breath. They had been chosen to represent humanity in this historic moment. First official contact with aliens. "Remember, let me do the talking first," Samantha whispered. John nodded, his eyes never leaving the ship as a ramp extended downward. A tall figure emerged from the ship. It had greenish-blue skin that seemed to shimmer in the sunlight. Its 4 arms moved with graceful precision, and its large eyes, pure black without any visible pupils, scanned the gathered humans. It wore what appeared to be ceremonial robes with intricate patterns. "I am Ambassador Scathar of the Viridian species," the alien announced in perfect English. "I speak on behalf of the Galactic Council, the united federation of 42 advanced civilizations that maintained order across this sector of the galaxy." Cameras flashed as reporters strained against security barriers. The world was watching. Samantha stepped forward. "Ambassador, I am Samantha Wright, diplomatic envoy for the United Nations of Earth. We welcome you to our world." The alien made a gesture that might have been their version of a nod. "Your species has reached a sufficient level of development to be acknowledged by the Council. This is why I have come." For the next hour, the ambassador spoke with the gathered human officials. The conversation was cordial but tense. Then came the reason for the visit. As is customary for all newly contacted species, Earth must provide tribute to the Galactic Council, Scathar stated flatly. John frowned. "Tribute? What kind of tribute?" The ambassador's expression didn't change. "The Council requires 500 human specimens for cultural exchange and biological study. This is standard procedure. All civilizations must contribute to the greater knowledge of the galaxy." Silence fell over the gathering. Samantha cleared her throat. "Ambassador, we would need to discuss this request with our global leadership. Taking 500 people off-world would require careful consideration." "This is not a request, but a requirement," Scathar replied. "You have 30 Earth days to comply, or there will be consequences. The Council's decisions are not negotiable." After the ambassador returned to his ship and departed, emergency meetings were called worldwide. News channels showed people panicking in the streets, while religious leaders called for calm. Some nations threatened nuclear response if aliens tried to take their citizens by force. In a secure underground facility beneath the Pentagon, Captain Miller, Samantha Wright, and 12 other officials gathered around a table. "We cannot give them 500 people," the Secretary of Defense said, slamming his fist on the table. "And we cannot fight a galactic federation with 42 species," another official countered. As the argument continued, a woman in a plain dark suit entered the room. She placed a folder marked "Top Secret" on the table. "My name is Kate Donovan, Intelligence Officer, Special Division," she said. "Before we make any decisions, there's something you should know." She opened the folder, revealing photographs of strange creatures in containment facilities. "Earth has been visited before, unofficially. For decades, we've captured alien scouts conducting unauthorized surveillance of our planet. Some were hostile. Some were merely curious. All were detained." Captain Miller leaned forward, staring at the images. "How many?" 37 specimens from 8 different species," Kate replied. "They're being held at a facility in Nevada called Deep Blue." Samantha's eyes widened. "Are you saying we have alien prisoners?" Kate nodded. "And based on what we've learned today, none of them had Council permission to be here, which means we might have just found our bargaining chip." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. "Get me everything on these aliens," Captain Miller said, his military mind already formulating a plan, "and arrange transport to Nevada. I want to see them for myself." Outside, the night sky seemed different somehow. Humanity had just learned they weren't alone in the universe, and their first lesson was that even among the stars, politics remained a game of leverage. The helicopter landed on a flat stretch of Nevada desert. There were no markings on the ground, no signs of human activity for miles around. But as Captain Miller and Samantha Wright stepped out, followed by Kate Donovan, a section of the desert floor slid away, revealing a ramp leading underground. "Welcome to Deep Blue," Kate said, leading them down. "This facility has existed for 70 years, ever since the Roswell incident." They descended into a brightly lit corridor. Guards with special weapons stood at attention as they passed. The air smelled clean, almost too clean, with a hint of something chemical. "How has this remained secret for so long?" Samantha asked. Kate smiled slightly. "People who believe in aliens are called crazy. It's the perfect cover." They entered a large room filled with screens and scientists in white coats. A man with gray hair and glasses approached them. "Dr. Alan Parker," he introduced himself. "I lead the xenobiology team here. You're about to see something few humans ever have." Dr. Parker led them to a wall of glass that overlooked a massive chamber below. The chamber was divided into sections, each one designed differently, some with higher gravity, some with different atmospheric compositions, some filled with water. And in these sections were the aliens. Samantha gasped. There were tall, thin creatures with 4 arms like the ambassador they had met. Others were short with tough, leathery skin. One section held beings that glowed faintly in the dark. Another contained what looked like floating jellyfish. 37 specimens from 8 species, Dr. Parker explained. Some we found in crashed ships. Others we captured during attempted abductions of humans. The most recent one arrived just last year. "Do they communicate?" Captain Miller asked. "Some do. Others refuse. We've learned a lot about the galaxy from the ones who talk." A man in a military uniform joined them. He had a stern face and perfect posture. "Colonel Frank Garrison," he said, shaking their hands firmly. "I run this facility. I understand Earth has a problem with some demanding aliens." They gathered in a conference room where Colonel Garrison explained more about their guests. "Most of these aliens come from species that are known to exploit less advanced civilizations," he said. "They harvest resources, take specimens, test weapons, all without official permission from their own governments." "How do you know this?" Samantha asked. Dr. Parker stepped in. "Some of them told us, hoping for better treatment. Others had records on their ships. We've been piecing it together for decades." Colonel Garrison tapped a screen, showing images of different alien ships. None of these visits were sanctioned by any galactic council. Earth was never officially approved for contact. "So the demand for tribute," Captain Miller began, "is almost certainly illegal under their own laws," Dr. Parker finished. "The Viridians have a history of this behavior. They find developing worlds and exploit them before the Council can establish official relations." Colonel Garrison stood up straight, his eyes hard with determination. "I have a proposal. Instead of giving them 500 innocent humans, we give them their own people back. The ones who broke the law by coming here in the first place." The room fell silent as everyone considered this. "That's bold," Samantha finally said. "We would essentially be telling the Galactic Council that we know their laws better than they do." "Exactly," Colonel Garrison nodded. "We show them we're not primitive or naive. We've been dealing with their kind for decades." Captain Miller studied the images of the alien prisoners. The Council demanded tribute. They didn't specify what kind. Dr. Parker pulled up more data on a screen. "Our most recent captive, a scientist named Kernax, has been very helpful. He's taught us much about Council protocols. He says there are factions within the Council that would support our position. So we're not just returning prisoners," Samantha realized. "We're making a political statement." Colonel Garrison smiled, and revealing the Viridians' unauthorized activities to the entire Council. "This could backfire terribly," Kate warned, "or it could establish humanity as a species not to be trifled with." Captain Miller looked at each person in the room. It's risky, but I like it better than the alternative. Samantha nodded slowly. We need to select which prisoners to return and gather all evidence of their illegal activities on Earth. And, Colonel Garrison added, we need a ship. The United Nations gathered in emergency session. Leaders from every major nation sat in tense silence as Colonel Garrison explained his plan. Some objected strongly, while others nodded in approval. This is madness, the French representative said. We risk injuring beings who could destroy our planet, and giving them 500 of our people isn't madness, the representative from Kenya countered. After hours of debate, they voted. Operation Boomerang was approved. A special task force would be formed immediately. Back at Deep Blue, activity intensified. Samantha Wright spent days studying alien languages and customs. Captain Miller trained a team of 20 soldiers in case things went wrong. Dr. Parker selected the 12 most important alien prisoners who represented members of the Galactic Council. In a secure hangar, engineer Richard Bailey led a team working day and night. They had something the public didn't know existed: a spacecraft built from reversed engineered alien technology. She's not pretty, Richard said as he showed Captain Miller around the ship, but she'll get us to the Council station and back. The ship was oddly shaped, partly human design and partly alien. They named it Defiance. How long have we had this? Captain Miller asked, running his hand along the metal hull. We've been building it for 15 years, Richard replied. Never thought we'd actually use it so soon. In the detention area, Dr. Parker documented each alien prisoner with video evidence of their illegal activities on Earth. One prisoner, a tall Viridian like Ambassador Scathar, hissed when Dr. Parker approached his cell. You make grave mistake, the alien said in broken English. Council will burn your world. Dr. Parker remained calm. Actually, we have evidence that you and your friends were here without Council permission. How will they feel about that? The alien fell silent, his large eyes blinking rapidly. Another prisoner, a smaller being with rough orange skin named Kernax, was more helpful. He had been on Earth studying plants when he was captured. Many on Council will support you, Kernax told Samantha during an interview. Viridians have many enemies. They take too much, give too little. Samantha took careful notes. Tell me more about Council protocol. How should we present our case? Around the world, military forces went on high alert. Ships at sea, planes in the air, missile systems ready. Humanity prepared for possible retaliation while hoping diplomacy would prevail. Colonel Garrison addressed the crew selected for the mission. You 20 represent humanity on this journey. The fate of our world may depend on your actions. Among the crew were specialists from many fields: diplomats, scientists, engineers, and soldiers. Captain Miller would command the mission. Samantha Wright would be the chief negotiator. Dr. Parker would manage the alien prisoners. Richard Bailey would maintain the ship. We launch in 48 hours, Colonel Garrison told them. Earth is counting on you. That night, Captain Miller couldn't sleep. He stood outside looking at the stars, wondering which one held the Council station. Samantha joined him. Nervous? She asked. Terrified, he admitted, but also excited. Humans going to the stars for the first time. Not as specimens, but as equals. She nodded. The ambassador gave us 30 days to deliver tribute. They'll be expecting submission. They'll get defiance instead. Hence the name of our ship, Miller smiled slightly. The next day, final preparations were made. The 12 selected alien prisoners were placed in special containment units aboard the Defiance. Each unit was designed for the specific needs of the alien inside. Dr. Parker showed Captain Miller the evidence package. Everything is documented: crash sites, abduction attempts, unauthorized technology testing. We have proof spanning 70 years. And if they don't care about proof? Miller asked. Parker handed him a small device. This contains the coordinates of every alien craft we've captured. If things go badly, Let them know we've studied their technology. They'll understand the implications. On the morning of the launch, the crew gathered for a final briefing. The weight of their mission showed on every face. Remember, Colonel Garrison told them, you're not just delivering prisoners. You're showing the galaxy that humanity won't be pushed around. As they boarded the Defiance, Richard Bailey patted the hull. Bring her back in one piece, he told Captain Miller. That's the plan, Miller replied. Along with all of us inside her, the Defiance rose through Earth's atmosphere, shaking slightly as it pushed through the clouds. Inside, the crew members held tight to their seats. For most of them, this was their first time leaving Earth. Captain Miller watched their faces, some excited, some terrified, all determined. Exiting atmosphere in 3, 2, 1, the pilot announced. The shaking stopped suddenly. Through the viewports, they could see the curve of Earth below and the endless black of space above. Setting course for the coordinates Kronax provided, the pilot said. Preparing for first jump. The ship had an engine reverse-engineered from alien technology. It could bend space in a way that let them travel faster than light. The first jump would take them beyond their solar system, farther than any human had ever gone. Jump in 5 seconds, the pilot called out. 4, 3, 2, 1. The stars outside seemed to stretch, then snap. Earth disappeared from view, replaced by an unfamiliar starfield. Jump complete, the pilot reported. All systems normal. Captain Miller unbuckled from his seat. Good work, everyone. We have 6 more jumps before we reach Council space. That gives us 4 days to prepare. Samantha Wright spent those days studying Council protocol with Kronax. The alien was surprisingly helpful, perhaps hoping for better treatment. Council has many laws, Kronax explained. Most important is Law 7.3, right to representation. You must demand hearing. Meanwhile, Dr. Parker checked on the other alien prisoners. Most remained hostile, especially the Viridians. They understood what the humans were doing and didn't like it. On the 3rd day, communications specialist Lisa Chen made an important discovery. She had been scanning for transmissions and finally caught something. Captain, I'm picking up Council communications, she reported. They're encrypted, but I've been using patterns from the aliens' equipment to break through. Captain Miller joined her at the communications station. What are they saying? Lisa adjusted some controls. It's fragmented, but I'm getting pieces. They're discussing Earth, resources, potential value. She worked for hours, piecing together more of the transmissions. What she found was troubling. The Viridians have been promoting Earth as a genetic resource, she told Captain Miller and Samantha that night. They've been harvesting genetic material from less advanced species for centuries. Harvesting? Samantha asked. You mean? Taking people. Lisa confirmed. Or parts of people. They use the genetic material to enhance their own species. Captain Miller's face hardened. So the tribute they demanded was likely just the beginning. Lisa finished. This information spread through the crew, strengthening their resolve. They weren't just protecting 500 humans now. They were potentially saving their entire species from exploitation. On the 4th day, one of the prisoners asked to speak with Captain Miller. It was Kronax. I have more information, the alien said, in exchange for promise of better treatment. Miller considered this. What kind of information? Council divided. Kronax explained. Not all agree with Viridian methods. Some species respect development, not exploitation. They could be allies. Names, Miller demanded. Give me names of potential allies on the Council. Kronax listed several species, the Arcturians, the Pleiades Collective, the Tausetians. Samantha recorded everything. Why are you helping us? She asked the alien. Kronax's expression changed in a way they couldn't quite interpret. Viridians took my world's resources centuries ago. Left nothing. I study plants on Earth to help my people grow food again. Not all aliens bad. Not all good either. Just like humans. On the final day of their journey, the Defiance made its last jump. Ahead of them floated a massive structure, Nexus Station, the headquarters of the Galactic Council. It orbited a neutron star, drawing power from its incredible energy. "It's enormous," Lisa whispered. The station was larger than any city on Earth, a sprawling collection of rings and spokes, with ships of various designs coming and going. Almost immediately, their communication system activated. "Unidentified vessel," came an alien voice. "You have entered Council space without authorization. State your purpose or be destroyed." Captain Miller took a deep breath and pressed the response button. "This is Captain John Miller of Earth. We bring tribute for the Council, as requested." There was a pause before the reply came. "Proceed to Docking Bay 47. Any deviation from assigned course will result in immediate destruction." As the Defiance moved toward the station, the crew gathered for a final briefing. "Remember the plan," Captain Miller told them. "Stay calm, stay together, and show no fear. We're about to make history." The Defiance docked at Bay 47 with a soft thud. Captain Miller looked at his crew, nodded once, and led them toward the airlock. Samantha Wright walked beside him, her face calm despite her racing heart. Behind them came Dr. Parker and 6 armed security officers guarding the first of the alien prisoners. When the airlock opened, they faced a line of tall, armored beings with weapons pointed at them. In the center stood a familiar figure, Ambassador Scathar. "Humans," the ambassador said, his voice cold. "You were not authorized to come here in person, and you certainly were not authorized to build a ship with our technology." Captain Miller kept his expression neutral. "You requested tribute. We are delivering it." Scathar's large eyes narrowed. "Where are the 500 specimens?" "This way," Miller replied, gesturing to the ship. Several Council security officers boarded the Defiance. Minutes later, angry shouts echoed from inside. The officers emerged, dragging one of the containment units. Inside was a Viridian prisoner, one who had been caught studying human brain tissue without permission. Ambassador Scathar's skin changed color, darkening with what might have been rage or fear. "What is the meaning of this?" "This is scientist Vortek of the Viridian Science Academy," Samantha said clearly. "Captured on Earth 7 years ago, while performing illegal experiments on unwilling human subjects. We have 11 more like him, representatives of 8 Council species who violated our planet without authorization." A large, imposing alien pushed through the security line. This one had deep red skin and wore an elaborate uniform with many symbols. "I am Duvrek, Chief of Council Security," he growled. "You will all be detained for this outrage." Samantha stepped forward. "We invoke Council Law Section 7.3, the right to representation and hearing before the full Council." Duvrek froze, his eyes darting to Scathar. "How do you know of Council law?" he demanded. "We've had teachers," Dr. Parker said, nodding toward the containment unit. Duvrek studied the humans carefully. "You claim these are unauthorized visitors to your world." "We have proof," Samantha replied. 70 years of evidence." The security chief turned to Ambassador Scathar. "Did you file the proper first contact protocols before visiting Earth?" Scathar's skin darkened further. "That is not relevant. These primitives have violated." "Answer the question, Ambassador," Duvrek interrupted. The tension in the docking bay grew. Other aliens began to gather, watching the confrontation with obvious interest. "The humans were scheduled for resource evaluation," Scathar said finally. "The paperwork is being processed." Duvrek made a sound that might have been a laugh. "After your visit? Interesting timing." He turned to the humans. "You will be granted temporary diplomatic status while this matter is investigated, but you will surrender your weapons and your ship will be impounded." Captain Miller nodded, and his security team handed over their guns. "The prisoners remain in our custody," he insisted. After some negotiation, they agreed. The humans would keep the prisoners but would be escorted at all times. They were led through the massive station to a section designated for visiting delegations. The corridors were filled with aliens of all shapes and sizes. Some looked almost human, while others defied description. Many stopped to stare at the humans, the first they had ever seen. In their assigned quarters, the human delegation gathered to plan their next move. "We've made it past the first hurdle," Samantha said. "But the real challenge comes tomorrow at the hearing." Captain Miller looked out a viewport at the vast expanse of the station. "Duvreck seemed interested in our evidence against the Viridians. That could work in our favor." As they talked, Lisa Chen approached. "Captain, we're being watched," she whispered, pointing discreetly to small devices in the corners of the room. "Expected," Miller replied quietly. "Say nothing important out loud." Later that evening, as most of the crew slept, there was a soft tone at their door. Dr. Parker opened it to find a tall, slender alien with pale blue skin. "I am Thiela of the Arcturian delegation," the alien said in a soft voice. "We have heard of your arrival. Many on the council are quite interested in your species." "Interested how?" Dr. Parker asked cautiously. Thiela's mouth formed what might have been a smile. "Not all of us agree with the Viridian methods. Some of us believe developing species should be protected, not exploited. Your bold arrival has created quite a stir." The alien glanced around. "The full council convenes tomorrow. Be prepared. The Viridians have many allies, but they also have many enemies." After Thiela left, Dr. Parker woke Captain Miller to report the visit. "Kernax was right," Miller said. "The council is divided. We need to use that to our advantage." Outside their quarters, the endless activity of Nexus Station continued. And somewhere in that vast complex, Ambassador Scathar was surely plotting how to deal with these unexpectedly troublesome humans. The Grand Council chamber was enormous. A giant circular room with rising tiers of seats, it could hold representatives from all 42 member species. At the center was a platform where speakers would present their case. Captain Miller, Samantha Wright, and Dr. Parker stood on this platform, feeling small beneath the gaze of hundreds of alien eyes. Behind them, guarded by their security team, were the 12 containment units with the alien prisoners. The evidence of Earth's unwanted visitors was impossible to ignore. The chamber hummed with the sounds of many languages as the various representatives discussed the unusual situation. Some pointed at the humans. Others examined data screens showing information about Earth. A loud tone sounded 3 times, and the room fell silent. An elderly alien with gray skin and 6 limbs floated to a special platform above the others. "I am High Counselor Zevra," the alien announced, its voice translated through small devices given to the humans. "This emergency session will now begin. The humans of Earth have invoked Law 7.3 to present their case regarding the tribute request. Ambassador Scathar, you may speak first." Scathar moved to a platform opposite the humans. "Honorable Council, these primitive beings have violated numerous laws. They reversed engineered our technology. They detained Council citizens. They arrived here uninvited. Their defiance shows they are not ready to join galactic society. I recommend immediate sanctions and forced compliance with the tribute request." Several council members nodded in agreement. Others remained still, watching carefully. High Counselor Zevra turned to the humans. "You may now present your case." Samantha stepped forward. "Honorable Council, my name is Samantha Wright. We come before you not in defiance, but to uphold your own laws which we have learned about through necessity." She activated a small device that projected images into the air. "For over 70 Earth years, our planet has been visited by ships from various Council species. None of these visits were authorized by your own protocols. The images showed crash sites, captured aliens, and recovered technology." The Council chamber filled with murmurs. "These 12 individuals," Samantha continued, gesturing to the containment units, "were caught conducting illegal surveillance, performing unauthorized experiments on humans, and extracting resources without permission or compensation." Dr. Parker stepped forward next. "As a scientist, I documented each case." He displayed more evidence, including biological samples proving the identities of the captured aliens. Some of these beings admitted they had no council authorization to visit Earth. The murmurs grew louder. Several representatives began arguing among themselves. Ambassador Scythar's skin darkened again. "Lies," he shouted. "These primitives fabricated this evidence." Security Chief Duvrek stood from his seat. "The biological verification appears genuine, Ambassador. These are indeed Council citizens." Captain Miller spoke next. "Earth was never officially designated for contact or tribute collection. We checked your own records through information provided by one of these detainees." He nodded toward Kernax, who sat in a more comfortable containment unit than the others. "When Ambassador Scathar arrived demanding 500 humans as tribute, we researched Council law. We learned this demand violated your own protocols for first contact." The Council chamber erupted into chaos. Various factions began shouting at each other. The Viridians and their allies claimed the humans were lying. Others demanded to know why Earth had been contacted without proper authorization. High Counselor Zevra struck a glowing staff against the floor 3 times. The sound echoed through the chamber, bringing silence. "Is it true?" the High Counselor asked, turning to a group of aliens at administrative consoles, "that Earth was never officially approved for contact or tribute collection?" One of the administrators checked their records, then looked up nervously. "There is no record of approved contact with Earth in the official database, High Counselor." Ambassador Scythar stepped forward quickly. "A simple administrative oversight." The forms were filed but not yet processed. "When were they filed?" Security Chief Duvrek asked. The administrator checked again. 3 days ago, after the human ship was detected approaching Nexus Station." The Council erupted again. Thela Nur of the Arcturians rose from her seat. "This is outrageous. The Viridians have been caught violating contact protocols again, and now we find they attempted to collect tribute from an unapproved world. This pattern of behavior cannot continue." Other representatives voiced similar concerns. What had started as a hearing about defiant humans had quickly become a trial of Viridian conduct. Captain Miller and Samantha exchanged a careful look. Their plan was working better than they had hoped. The divisions within the Council were becoming very clear. High Counselor Zevra raised all 6 of his limbs, calling for order. "This session will recess for 1 hour while the evidence is examined. Security teams will verify the identities of all detained aliens. We will then reconvene to continue this most unusual case." As the Council members filed out, many cast curious glances at the human delegation. Some looked hostile, but others seemed impressed. "Round 1 goes to us," Captain Miller whispered. During the recess, the human delegation was escorted to a small room near the Council chamber. Guards stood outside, but they were treated with more respect now. "They're taking us seriously," Samantha said as she reviewed her notes for the next session. Captain Miller nodded. "The Viridians didn't expect to be challenged. They thought we would just hand over 500 people without question." A soft tone sounded at the door. Dr. Parker opened it to find Security Chief Duvrek standing there with 2 assistants. "I have questions," Duvrek said as he entered the room. His red skin looked darker in the room's lighting. "How did primitive humans manage to capture Council citizens with advanced technology?" Dr. Parker smiled slightly. "We're more resourceful than you might think. And not everyone who visits Earth is careful." Duvrek studied him for a moment. "You have achieved much for a species so young." He wasn't exactly complimentary, but there was a hint of respect in his voice. "We examined your prisoners," Duvrek continued. "Their identities are confirmed. All are indeed Council citizens, as you claimed." The security chief moved closer to Captain Miller. "The Viridian scientist, Vortek, is of particular interest. He disappeared 3 Council cycles ago. Ambassador Scathar reported him dead on an expedition." Miller raised an eyebrow. "Yet we found him very much alive, collecting human brain tissue in a rural area." Duvrek made a sound that might have been a grunt. "The Viridians have been operating beyond Council oversight for too long. Your arrival has exposed much that was hidden. He paused. This does not mean you are without fault. Your development of space technology from reverse engineering is still a violation. A violation we wouldn't have committed if we hadn't been illegally visited in the first place, Samantha pointed out. Before Devrek could respond, Thielanur of the Arcturians arrived with several other aliens of different species. The council reconvenes soon, Thielanur announced. But first, we wish to speak with you. She gestured to her companions. These are representatives from the Pleiades Collective, the Tausetians, and the Rigel combine. We have formed a coalition within the council. One of the aliens, a small being with crystalline skin, spoke up. We have long suspected the Viridians of unauthorized genetic harvesting. Your evidence may finally prove what we have claimed for cycles. Captain Miller looked at these potential allies carefully. What exactly are you proposing? An alliance, Thielanur said simply. Your world is small but resourceful. You managed to capture council citizens and build a spacecraft capable of reaching Nexus Station. This suggests potential. What kind of alliance? Samantha asked. We will support your position in the council. In return, Earth joins our coalition as a probationary member. The humans exchanged glances. This was more than they had hoped for. And the tribute demand? Dr. Parker asked. Withdrawn completely, the crystalline alien answered. No species should surrender its people for study. The tone sounded again, signaling the end of recess. As they walked back to the council chamber, Samantha whispered to Captain Miller, This is moving faster than we expected. The Grand Council chamber was quieter now. Many representatives seemed deep in thought as the human delegation took their place on the central platform. High Counselor Zevre called the session to order. The identities of the detained aliens have been confirmed. The council records have been examined. Earth was indeed never officially approved for contact or tribute collection. Ambassador Scathar rose to speak, but the High Counselor waved him down. Further investigation has revealed a pattern of unauthorized activities by certain council members. Zevre's gaze fixed on the Viridian delegation. Genetic material from 17 unapproved worlds has been traced to Viridian research facilities. The chamber filled with angry murmurs. Thielanur stood up. The Arcturian delegation formally proposes that Earth receive probationary council membership. They have demonstrated both resourcefulness and understanding of council law that exceeds many established members. Several other representatives stood in support. The Viridians and their allies immediately objected. The two factions glared at each other across the chamber. Security Chief Devrek stepped forward, surprising everyone. As Chief of Council Security, I have reviewed evidence of multiple unauthorized exploitation schemes. He activated a display showing details of Viridian operations on various planets. This extends beyond Earth to at least 16 other developing worlds. Ambassador Scathar's skin turned almost black with rage. This is a conspiracy. These humans have manipulated you all. The evidence speaks for itself, Devrek replied calmly. The council erupted into heated debate. Some called for sanctions against the Viridians. Others demanded compensation for Earth. A few even suggested Ambassador Scathar be removed from his position. Captain Miller watched the chaos with a mixture of hope and concern. Earth was at the center of a galactic political crisis now. Their small planet had accidentally exposed corruption within the council that had been festering for centuries. I think, he said quietly to Samantha, we've changed the galaxy today. She nodded. For better or worse, humanity has arrived on the galactic stage.